as I said, I'm going to go through, on my side, a little bit about ourselves, about Damson. And also, I'm going to do a full demonstration of Google Apps, of the actual product as well. So, who are Damson Cloud? The business challenges that face organizations today in terms of technology. I'm going to speak a little bit about what is cloud computing, and then I'm going to talk about what exactly is Google Apps. So who are Damson Cloud? Well, we're a Google Apps authorized partner, and we're one of Google's top partners in Europe. So Google have a handful of partners that they work very, very closely with, and we're one of those top or premier partners. And it means that we're allowed to run events such as this in Google's offices. We have offices in Dublin, which is originally where we started, and in London. And we also have an offshore development team in India as well, who do a lot of software development on the Google App Engine platform that Brad spoke about earlier on. And that is actually a huge percentage of our business as well. Our staff are trained by Google. You may have met some of our staff today, Jessica and Jennifer at the door. We have Ian here as well, who's one of our Google certified trainers. Thanks, Ian. We have Raheem, who's a Google certified deployment specialist, and myself, who's a Google certified sales specialist. So all of our staff have actually been trained by Google and certified by Google. What is it we actually do? Well, we do a lot of different things, but there are 3 core areas that we feel are important when it comes to a Google Apps deployment. The first is planning, the second is the actual deployment itself, and then support ongoing after that. What we help our customers with within these is project management, technical assistance, because we have the technical expertise to actually make you have a successful deployment or give you a successful deployment. Change management and user adoption and support both during your deployment and actually afterwards or ongoing as well. We also, as I mentioned, work on the Google Cloud Platform doing development. We do things such as collaboration solutions on Google Sites, web applications that are built on Google App Engine for business, and that's our software development team in India. Workflow management as well. So there's something called Google Apps Scripts, which allows you to automate things and automate workflows such as sales workflows. And actually, some of our customers are going to be talking about this later on. And then cloud analytics within Google BigQuery as well. We're a pure play Google Apps consultancy. So what that means is we don't do anything except Google Apps. Our business is 100% Google Apps. We have done over 150 plus Google Apps deployments to date. And we support tens of thousands of users globally. And we're also a zero infrastructure business. So what that means is we've outsourced to Google. They look after the hardware. And that means that we can concentrate on our business and the focus on you guys. These are just a handful of our customers. You might recognize some of these brands. Andrew Lloyd Webber's Really Useful Group, Forward, who own the uswitch.com brand, Hogarth we're working with at the moment, Friday Media Group, and obviously Smart Solutions and Barnsley Hospice, who have kindly come today to speak to us about their experiences of actually moving to Google Apps. So, what are the challenges when it comes to technology? We've all been this poor unfortunate chap. You know, sometimes there are a lot of frustrations, both as a consumer and as a business. I think there are 2 perspectives within this. There is the user and there is the business. And those 2 perspectives are extremely different because from the user's perspective, they're seeing a massive increase in data, the amount of information that they have to deal with on a daily basis. And many people feel like this. They feel overwhelmed with the amount of information that they actually have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. They may run out of space within their email inboxes. Many enterprises will limit the size of their inboxes to 500 megabytes or a gig. And for a lot of people, they're constantly having to delete emails that maybe they require at some future date. Mobile. Mobile has become really important, both in consumer and in the business world. Many of you here, I'm sure, have iPads or tablets or mobile devices such as iPhones and Androids. And having access to our information now out on the road and when we're traveling has not just become important, but has become vital for many, many people. We're seeing, as Brad mentioned, the consumerization of IT. This idea that what we have in our businesses is not the same as what we have as consumers. And there's this widening gap because people are actually being forced to go around the solution that their business has put in place. I've heard many examples of companies using Dropbox. And it's the staff that have implemented it. I can see some nodding heads in the audience. Where people have implemented Dropbox to try and get around the enterprise solution and bringing in mobile devices such as iPhones. And the IT department struggling with this ability to manage this consumerization of IT. I'm not sure if any of those other ones hit home with you, but collaboration is definitely something that hits home with everybody. And many of you will be familiar with this challenge. I'm working with my team, Jesse, Sally, Casey, and Rachel, and I email them out a version of a document. They email me back their versions of that document, and me as the team leader, I have to bring that information together into one unique document. So I get version 2, I email that out to them, and they again send me a second copy. Unfortunately, one of my colleagues, Rachel, again I can see some nodding heads, one of my colleagues, Rachel, sends me an email, but she's on version 1. And so suddenly I have 5 or 6 copies of a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm trying to bring this together. And the big question is, how much time is wasted by working in this way? And you know, is this really the way that we need to work today? As someone said to me once, it's like collaborating like it's 1990. So then we have the other perspective, which is the organization. And from the organization's perspective, which many of you are coming here today, are from IT directors, CIOs, CEOs, and you guys are actually putting a huge amount of money and effort into all this technology. So you might have email servers, you might have security systems, directory servers, storage. You may have redundancy for all of these. All of these have to be maintained and looked after. And let's face it, they cost lots and lots of this. In fact, it tends to take up about 80% of an organization's IT budget is just spent on what we call maintaining the status quo. I give the example of bringing my car to my mechanic. It doesn't improve it or make it any better. He just fixes it and brings it back to where it was. And so we're doing all this work and putting all this money and effort into essentially standing still. So what are the solutions? Well, this is where cloud computing comes in. And it's not something that I want people to be afraid of, or you know, you've probably heard maybe 5 or 6 or 7 different explanations of it. All cloud computing is accessing applications that we're used to, such as email, such as spreadsheets or PowerPoint presentations or documents. Instead of the actual software being on our computers, just accessing it over a web browser, such as Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, or Safari. Hopefully, you'll recognize some of these logos. So why are so many enterprises moving to the cloud? Well, a lot of it has to do with scale. And Brad spoke about this earlier on. The scale of Google means that they can offer us, as businesses, much more cost-effective solutions than we could ever hope to achieve on our own. And this helps to increase our efficiency because we have more ubiquitous access to this information now on mobile devices. The security is increased. They employ hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people to put in place security that there is no way that we could put in place as businesses on our own. Multi-tenancy. This idea that there is only one copy of the application that everyone can access. And I use the example of a shared office space, that we all share the facilities and the light and the heat and the broadband, but we can each customize our own office space to suit our own needs. Reliability. I think this is probably one of the best. I think Google Apps for us over the last 5 years has probably been unavailable for an amount of time counted only in hours over the last 5 years for ourselves as a business. Collaboration, I mentioned this earlier on, this ability to access your information from anywhere, to work with people on documents and on presentations from absolutely anywhere and from any device. This, and it has been proven that there is a direct correlation between people's ability to increase productivity if you give people more access to the information that they require. So what about Google Apps and the Google Apps suite of tools? Well, we've got Gmail, which has 25 gigs worth of storage, built-in search so that you can find the information that you're looking for. Google Drive, formerly known as Google Docs, which now helps you create, share, and collaborate on work from any device and from any location. Google Calendar, which helps you organize your business life effortlessly. Google Sites, which I mentioned earlier on, that you can actually help to build collaboration solutions and intranet solutions for your organization. Google Plus, you might have heard about it. And Google Plus for Business, which has now been released, allows you to build relationships and join meetings from anywhere. It gives you full video conferencing capabilities, which we're going to demonstrate later on. You've got Google Talk, which is business class instant messaging, video chat, and simple click to call. And the recently released Google Vault, which is Google's next generation of governance, archiving, and e-discovery. We also have the Google Marketplace. And this is kind of like Google's App Store. So in the same way that you can go onto your mobile device and download an app that I have on my iPhone or my Android, you can go onto the Google Marketplace and you can download an app within a couple of minutes and enable it for your organization. And all of these apps integrate in some way with the Google ecosystem. And they basically help you to extend the capabilities of Google Apps. So if you're looking for a CRM solution, a financial solution, you can go to the Google Marketplace and you can extend the capabilities of Google Apps. These are just a handful of some of the products that we would recommend. We're going to hear from FlashPanel and from CloudLock today. And I believe someone from Esentech is also around. There's a gentleman over there. So if you're interested in any of these solutions, I'm sure these guys will be around to talk about it later on. Integrations. Google realized that not everything lives in the cloud and that you require integration with your on-premise infrastructure. So as you can see here, in many cases, you can integrate what you have on-premise with Google's cloud. Probably the best example of this is the Google Secure Data Connector, which creates almost like a secure VPN connection between or secure connection between your infrastructure and Google's cloud. And this allows you to both push and pull data between these two locations. Also, a very good example is a contextual gadget. I'm going to show you a contextual gadget later on, which takes information from other systems and displays it within Google Apps. So within a Gmail, for example, you could show up some CRM data or some CRM information. A very good example of an integration that Google have out of the box is the Google Apps Outlook Sync tool. And this tool actually allows organizations to move from Microsoft Exchange to Google Apps, but their users can continue to use the familiar Outlook environment that they have once they have Microsoft Outlook 2003 or higher. So this has been very, very successful for us, where from a change management point of view, many people are familiar with Outlook. I'm sure many of you use it. And the idea of changing overnight to this new system can feel, very scary for a lot of people. So to help with the change management, the Google Apps Outlook Sync tool is fantastic for that. I'm sure you probably heard about the release of Google Drive. Now you can sync many of your documents down onto your actual laptops or PCs, or indeed your mobile devices. I can actually access the same document here on my tablet if I wanted to. I could look up the presentation and I could edit it as well. And the idea really, fundamentally, of not just Google Apps, but any cloud computing-based tool, is to help us work together more easily, is to help us operate almost as one from any location. To access the information that we're looking for from any device that we have. It doesn't matter if you're on a Mac or a PC or a Windows device or a Linux device. You just go to the web browser, you can access the information that you're looking for. It just keeps getting better. This, for me, is probably one of the most fundamental things, not just about Google Apps, but about any cloud-based product. And I think this next slide actually shows you the difference between Google Apps over the last few years. In 2007, there were 3 applications within the Google Apps Suite. This is how many there are in it now, and that probably isn't even all of them in 2012. And as a business, you're still paying £33 per user per year, but the amount of features and tools that you're getting have increased dramatically. A good example of this, in February 2010, Google released an update that I could remotely wipe my iPhone. Now that's an amazing feature. But when I went to bed one night, I didn't have it, and I woke up in the morning, and I did. I didn't pay any extra money for it. I didn't have to run an update. But suddenly, I had this extra feature that was really valuable to me and my business. And they're the type of features that you come to expect as both a user and a business using Google Apps. I'm just going to mention 2 or 3 features that came out over the last few months to try and give you guys an example of this. This is a feature where you can now add a Hangout, and a Google Hangout is Google's video conferencing technology where up to 10 people can join a video conference. So if you've ever used WebEx or GoToMeeting or anything like that, it's Google's version of that. And the update came out that you could now add a Hangout to a meeting appointment. So I can now open up my tablet or I can open up my laptop and I can go to that meeting appointment, click a link, and I'll join the Hangout directly from the meeting appointment. Now that's really, really valuable, and that update, as I said, just came along. I mentioned earlier on Google+. Google+ for Business and the business tools and features around that have been released recently, the first tranche, I suppose, of them, because Google are constantly improving Google+ and have told us within the roadmap that there's going to be more features to expect within Google+ for Business. But you can now restrict Hangouts to within your organization. So as you can see here, you can have 5 or 6 or 7 people looking at a document and in a Hangout together, editing the same document at the same time. You can see these people have been assigned a color each, so they can see who's editing at what point. You can also now restrict Google+ from within an organization. So for example, here you can see it says visible to everyone within Inc. 42, which is the company. And that means that you as an administrator can set your Google+ to only be available to your users within the organization, so people can't share things externally. So they're the type of updates that you expect as a user. These are just some of Google's probably well-known customers. Hopefully you'll recognize some of these brands here. Guardian newspaper, National Geographic, BBVA Bank was a big one that moved over recently, Specsavers. And again, to name but a few, Google have 4 million businesses now, 40,000 users, and 5,000 businesses sign up every single day. So I'm going to move to the demo now. There was something that I'd forgotten to mention earlier on. You may have noticed there's a film crew here. And there's some people taking photos. So they're just going to film the speakers, and they're just going to take a couple of snaps. So just to let people know about that, I should have mentioned at the start, so apologies for that. So the first thing that I always mention is that actually was a Google presentation. So many of you would be familiar with, obviously, PowerPoint. This is Google's version, obviously, of PowerPoint. And it was available online, and I can, as I said, edit it on any device. So I could open it on here and edit it from my mobile device as well. OK, so I'm just going to dive straight into it. OK, so the first thing that I'm going to go into is my mail. Firstly, can everybody see that OK? I'm going to take your silence as a yes. Just because they're filming it doesn't mean we can't laugh. We have to have fun here as well. OK, so I'm in my mail. Now, there's a couple of things that I always note about the Gmail interface that is different. So from any device in the world, I go to mail.damsoncloud.com or gmail.com, and I log in with my username and password. So it doesn't matter that this is actually my laptop or my computer. I can actually access it from anywhere. Now, there are 3 things that I mentioned. One is the search, which I'm going to show you. The other is the labels and filters. And then I'm just going to talk about the Google Chat as well. So you'll notice that I have some colored labels on here. Can everybody see my little colored labels? So as emails come in, they actually get filtered by Google using Google's filters, much like you might have filters within Outlook and maybe flags as well. So what's interesting about this is, because it's a label, I can actually dual label something. So if something is in a folder, it can only be in that folder. It can't be anywhere else. Whereas if it's a label, I can obviously label something with two separate labels if I wanted to. So an extremely good example of this is my accounts label. And my accounts label basically says anything that mentions the word receipt or invoice or payment, I want you to put it into my accounts label. So it's not from a particular person, it's not from a particular domain, it's anything that in the subject mentions these particular things, invoice, receipt, or payment. I want you to put it in here. My accountant loves this because it makes it very easy for her. And because I can dual label something, you can see I've got Blueface here on this one, but it's also in my accounts label. So this makes it very easy for me because I can go into this particular email here. It's got accounts and it's got Blueface. And so if, for example, I was to go into my Blueface label, I could now find it really, really easy to find my invoices, because if I scroll through the Blueface label, they're going to have the nice yellow accounts label on them. See? So these are all the ones that are the invoices. So again, going back to the start with your users having that massive amount of data and information that they have to manage, this is an innovation by Google to help them manage that volume of information. If, for example, I didn't have a label, obviously I could search for something. So I'm going to do a little search for a gentleman called Dave. Now, unfortunately for Dave, I know more than one person called Dave. It's rather common now. So I do remember Dave's company, though. It's called Fenero. So now I've narrowed it down. Within a couple of seconds, I've narrowed it down to 72 emails just by saying Dave and Fenero. Okay, so just 2 search terms. You saw how fast that was as well. I could do something else as well. I could put in meeting. So I've got 3 key terms now, and I brought it down to 55. So the 55 emails that mention the word Dave, Fenero, and meeting. So I'm going to go into one of these. Dave is our accountant. He's asked me about our first accounting period. You might have noticed that Dave's image has appeared here, and that's using a contextual gadget. I mentioned the contextual gadgets earlier on. So what this has done, it's called Reportive, and it's looked at Dave's email address, it's gone online, and it's checked for social media accounts that are associated with Dave. So I can actually see Dave is associated with Fenero's Twitter account. I can see his LinkedIn. Because of his LinkedIn, I can actually see his job title. So if you're in sales or marketing, this is extremely valuable. You get an email from someone that you don't know, you've never met before, but they're interested in your product. Suddenly you can see who they are, where they work, and you can connect with them on LinkedIn. Now, I'm actually connected with Dave already, but if I wanted, I could click here, and it would bring me directly to Dave's LinkedIn. Now, that's just a very small feature that's part of a contextual gadget that you can add on, and this is an example of how you can extend Google Apps using something like the contextual gadgets. But I have another contextual gadget that's probably more interesting to people, and I'm going to show you that now. If I scroll down to the end of Dave's email, I can see another contextual gadget here. And you might notice it says Aperio. Aperio is a Salesforce developer. And they developed this tool called Cloud Factor. And what it does is, it's a contextual gadget that connects with my Salesforce. Salesforce is a CRM solution, for those of you that don't know. And it's not syncing with my CRM, which a lot of things do. So it will sync with your contacts. You get a lot of CRMs that do things like that. It's actually a window into my CRM solution. So I can see that there's an opportunity here with Dave. And if I click on this, it will drop down the information here. And I can actually, any of you that have Salesforce, you'll notice these buttons look very similar to Salesforce because this is a window into my Salesforce CRM solution. And if I wanted, I could update this information, such as logging a call. I could record this particular email if I wanted against that particular opportunity. So again, the extensibility that you can actually bring information from other systems and other tools into your Gmail environment. A perfect example of this is the CRM, or indeed a PO approval process, whereby instead of people having to go and open the PO approval system, you could actually pull information in to their email when they receive the PO, and they could just approve it right there. So you're trying to help your staff and your users avoid having to have multiple systems and multiple logins. And these contextual gadgets can actually be built. So if you wanted, we could actually build a contextual gadget for your organization that pulls information maybe from an internal database or from another cloud tool and display it within your email. Okay, so I've done contextual gadgets. I've showed you guys the search, and Raheem has just said hello to me. Thanks, Raheem. Which leads nicely into chat. So you can see here, this is Google Chat. You may have noticed it down the bottom. I like that Raheem has updated my status, which says presenting, do not disturb. Thanks, Raheem. And And what I can do here is I can chat to Raheem, say hello. He's actually told me that he's invited me to a meeting and that I should check my email, so I'm going to do that. I've got 10 new emails here, and Raheem is the last one. And it looks like that there's a business meeting. So I can see the information about the business meeting. I'm going to say that, yes, I'm going to go to this. I can also see that Raheem has invited Brad and Brian as well. So if I open up my email now, or my calendar, pardon me, you can see that my business meeting has now appeared. I'm just going to go through Google Calendar kind of quickly. So some interesting things about Google Calendar. You can have multiple calendars. So if I wanted, I can enable the multiple calendars that I have, and the calendars are overlaid over each other. You can have shared calendars, so you can have like a company calendar, such as a holiday calendar that you share with everyone within the organization, and share that out, and it will appear in everyone's calendar system. If I have administrative rights, I can create a calendar appointment in any of these calendars if I'm allowed. When I create a calendar event, I have a couple of interesting things that I can do. I can put in a location, and when I put in a location, when my invitees get that calendar invitation sent out to them, they can actually click on the map link, and it will give them the exact location. Now, this is extremely valuable if people come into your office and they've never been to your office before. I can add, as I mentioned earlier on, I can add a Google Hangout. So that's just created a Google Hangout now for that particular meeting. I can book a room as well. So we actually have meeting rooms and conference facilities. And if I wanted, I could add these meeting rooms, and then it will tell me if this meeting room is available. So I can find a time. I can see that the meeting room is free at this particular time. This is the calendar for the meeting room. This is my calendar. And so it makes it very easy for me to schedule things within my organization. If I was to add guests as well, so I could add Raheem, I would also get his calendar up here, and then I could see if Raheem is free. So rather than just sending it off and hoping that the person is free, I can actually see my colleagues' calendars, and I can see the conference room calendars, and so that I know that the appointment that I set, they will actually be available. Within the event details itself, some interesting things you can do. You can actually add an attachment. So if I wanted, I could add an attachment for a particular document, maybe the meeting notes or the presentation that we're working on. And I can add that straight from Google Docs, and then anybody that comes along to that calendar appointment could then click on it and go into that particular document. In terms of reminders, you've obviously got pop-up and you've got email. An interesting one with Google is you've also got SMS. There's an organisation in Ireland called the GAA, and they use this for match fixtures. And they basically have shared calendars. They have people's mobile numbers on it. And when the match fixtures change, someone just changes the time, and everybody gets a text message update to say that the match fixture has been changed. So depending on your organisation, you can find some really valuable ways, if you've got a lot of mobile workers, to use this SMS. And all of the SMSs are completely free as well. So it's a very, very valuable feature. So I'm just going to go back out into the meeting appointment that Raheem shared with me. And I'm just going to take a look at it. And I can see that he's invited Donal, myself, obviously Raheem created the appointment, and Brad and Brian. Brad and Brian haven't come back to us yet. I can see that there's 2 documents attached to it. And I can also see that there's a Hangout as well. So I'm going to jump into the Google Hangout now. Can I put this up here? Or is that a terrible idea? Okay, so I was able to click on the Hangout directly from the calendar appointment. And so I didn't have to go and look anywhere else. I can see that Donal and Raheem are already in the Hangout. So I'm going to click Join. Hi, Don.
How are you?
Just going to spin him around. Everybody's got to give a wave. Come on. Come on, he's in Ireland. Give him a wave. There you go.
That's actually free any video at all.
I just wanted to make you feel welcome, you know. They seem like nice Londoners. Okay, so we can see Raheem has joined as well, which is causing a nice little bit of feedback. Raheem, have you joined on your mobile device? Oh, right. That's very interesting. Do you want to pass your mobile device around? You can give a little wave, everybody, as it goes around. So as you can see, we can join. You didn't mute it, so I'm getting a nice bit of feedback. Awesome. As you can see, you can join from any device. So I actually have a slide that I should have put in here where I joined a Hangout from a bus before, just to see if it would work. So it really is truly mobile working. OK, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add one of those documents to the Hangout. So you might have remembered earlier on from the picture, there was a Google Doc above and then all of the video down at the bottom. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add a Google Doc to this. All right, pardon me. So I can search through my list of documents, and I can add both Word-based documents, which is Google shown blue here, and spreadsheet documents as well. So I'm going to add this customer one here. You can still see Raheem's phone is flying around the room. OK, so the document is loaded up here. I've got all my colleagues down at the bottom, so they can all see me and I can all see them. Everyone's been assigned a color, so you can see if I just scroll up to the top here, when people start typing. Raheem and Don, do you want to get onto the document there? OK, so when the guys go onto the doc, each person is assigned a color to make it kind of easier to manage. And to make it easy for you to determine who's actually making the edits. So when the guys open the document, we'll be able to see that and be able to see the edits that they're making. So we can actually see some edits that are coming up now. And so rather than there being, like the example I had at the start, where there was multiple copies of the document and I was emailing them back and forth, it means there's just one copy of the document, one example of the truth. And OK, one example of the truth, and it means that everyone is able to edit the same document at the same time. Who's ever got Raheem's phone, maybe you could pass it back this way. That'd be great. OK, that's cool. OK, so I'm going to leave the Hangout in the background. And I'm just going to jump into a different document, which actually Raheem also put into the... So the Hangout is still there in the background. But I'm just going to jump into a spreadsheet. Now, again, the document is on the web. I can edit it from any location. What's interesting about this particular example is there are 3 people involved in this collaboration. So this document is actually a Google form, which is an extension of Google Spreadsheets. I'll just go and show you the live form for a moment. The live form, this is very simple. Your forms can be obviously far more complicated with drop-down menus, multiple choice questions, everything that you would find in a standard survey-style form. But this particular one is very simple. It's called Demo Template New Metric Info. So what we used to use this for was for our engineers out on the road. We used to also do IT support before we discovered the cloud. We used to have engineers out on the road, and they would have to fill in the hours that they had done for a particular customer. So this is demo customer metric info. So I'm going to pretend I'm the engineer. I'm going to fill out in April that I did 5 hours, and I'm going to submit that. So as the engineer, I only see the form, and I can fill it out my mobile device or my tablet or my PC when I go home. I'm the manager, and I'm managing both the engineers and the spreadsheet. And I can see that an engineer has filled out the form, and that there's actually 2. One at 10:09:25 for February, and someone filled one out for April. I've also got some other tabs on here. I've got tickets that were logged for the organization. I've got money that was spent. And I've got some charts as well. But at the very end, I built an account summary. And the account summary is some nice little pretty charts, because that's really all my customer wants to see. He doesn't want to see the hard data. He just wants the information on one page to make it easy for him. And what I do is I take that tab and I publish it on the web. And I send that link to my customer. And my customer just has that link saved as a favorite, and he can open that whenever he wants and just get up-to-date information in nice pretty bar charts and spreadsheets. So there's 3 people, as I said, involved in that collaboration. There's the engineer filling out the numbers, there's the manager managing the spreadsheet, and then there's the customer at the end who just sees up-to-date information. And that's all happening live. So it's just a really nice example of how you can use Google Spreadsheets to work together. I'm going to quickly open Google Docs and just show you guys the Google Drive or Google Docs view. As I said, it was recently renamed. You can see I've got Google Drive on my computer up here. So if I drop files into my Google Drive folder, they will appear on Google Drive Online and vice versa. So a PDF or a photo or Word document. The green ones, as I mentioned, are spreadsheets. The blue ones are Google Docs or Word, the equivalent of Word documents. You can obviously see the Adobe PDFs one here. These are images, and the presentation ones are in orange. So going with what people would find familiar within each of these particular icons. There's a couple of things that people ask me in terms of when you start to collaborate with people. And there's a couple of interesting features that I want to show. So I'm just going to quickly go back to the demo doc. And there's 2 features I want to show you. One is called comments, where you can actually leave comments for people on a document. And the other is the ability to go back, so revision history. Obviously, when you start to collaborate with people on the same document, what if you make a change that I don't like, or I make a change that you don't like? And that's where the revision history comes into it. So this is the document that I was editing earlier on in the Hangout. Obviously, I could open it on its own if I wanted. I'm not sure if the guys are actually on the doc. I don't think they are. Raheem, do you want to jump in there if you want? I can see, oh thanks Don. I can see that Donald's still in the background, by the way. So I can see that Donald last edited 4 minutes ago. It's now just changed to Raheem editing it 6 seconds ago. This is the comment section here. So what you can actually do is highlight a section, right click, and you can leave a comment. And the comments just allow you to, if you've got someone off the document, so particularly with myself, I travel a lot between Dublin and Ireland. And so sometimes I'm on a plane, Donald and Raheem and some of my other colleagues are editing a document. If I come back to it with the comments, I can see how they came to a conclusion about a particular part of the document. And maybe I can get involved in the discussion as well. So if I wanted, I could have my own comment here. And they could respond to that. Or indeed, I could respond to one of their comments. You'll notice when I click on the comments, it shows me which section the comments are about. So I could respond to Donald's comment here if I wanted. Obviously, you wouldn't normally be saying things like, hey, but... Also, we have the viewers. So you can see if I just drop this down, we've got Adam, we've got Donald twice for some reason, we've got myself, and we've got Raheem. So each person has been given a color, and if I hover over their particular color, it will show me that it's Raheem for a couple of seconds. And the same if I hover over Donald, it will show me that it's Donald. So again, making it easier for me to collaborate and work with them on the actual document. I'm just going to quickly show you the revision history. If I go into the revision history, it will show me each of the revisions. And not only that, but it will actually show me who it was that edited it on those days. And if I go into that document, it will color code the edits that the person has made. So Adam's edits will be in blue, Donald's edits will be in pink, and Raheem's will be in orange. So I can actually see who changed what and when they changed it. And if I wanted, I could actually go back to any of those revisions and I could restore that document. So if Raheem had made changes and that was a document that he wanted, but I didn't like the changes he'd made, I could actually, if I wanted, go back. I'll see how far I can go. 29th of March 2011. That's what it used to look like. And if I wanted, I could restore that document, but also Raheem could take a copy of his. And if I restore a revision, the one that I'm on now also is maintained. So if I wanted, I could still go back again to that. Finally, I'm just going to finish off with cross-compatibility. So I do obviously have the ability to take a Google Doc out. And a lot of people ask this question. What if I want to email it to someone and they don't have Google Docs? That's a question that we always get. Someone may still even ask it in the deep dive. There's a couple of things I can do. I can download it as a Word document. I can download it as an open office document, a PDF, a rich text document, a plain text document, or indeed a website in HTML zipped up. So probably more options than you would get in any other word processing tool. Not only that, I could also share the link with someone and I could add them to the document. So what if they don't have Google Docs? Just make the link public and send it to them. And then they can collaborate on the document with you. So if they don't even have to have a Google Apps account or a Gmail account, you could still share it with them if you wanted to. So I do that quite a lot with customers. I do a proposal. I share the proposal link with them. They look at it and they go, actually, there's some changes we'd like to make. I just allow them to comment, and they can comment on the document. And then it means that rather than there being revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, revision 4, there's just one copy of it. There's the comments recorded that they made. And it creates a flow and a conversation between myself and my customer. And it's much more natural. OK, so we can still see the guys are editing in the background there. Again, if you guys have any questions, we can take those at the end. OK, so I'm going to jump to Google Sites. Just going to close these down. I have too many tabs open. So Google Sites is interesting because Google Sites brings it all together. You've got the mail, you've got the calendar, you've got the docs. But Google Sites kind of allows you to bring each of those elements into one area. And an example that I have is a customer. It's called Feroiga. They're a youth organisation in Ireland. They have 350 staff spread throughout the country. And they have no more than a handful of staff in each location because they're a youth organisation. They've got all these youth groups in different locations. And the difficulty that they had was the fact that they needed one place for all of their information. And so they moved to Google Apps, and the main reason they wanted it was sort of a SharePoint solution was what they were looking at. They looked at Google Sites. We did some training with one of the IT guys on a Monday morning for about half a day or a day, and within 30 days, he built a full intranet solution for 350 staff with hundreds of pages, thousands of documents on there. And with only a half day's training, he was able to create that site. Obviously, he was a technical person. He worked in the IT department. But with very little training, he was actually able to create that site on his own. So I think it's a great example of an organization taking something like Google Sites and building it out. I'll show you an example of it later on. So what I'm going to do is just open up our little sales site that we have. I'm just going to flick through the Google site, and then we're going to wrap up after that. Don't worry, we are near the end. So this is Google Sites. You can see a few bar charts that have appeared here, and this particular example is based around sales, obviously, but it could be anything. So I've got a whole lot of bar charts here. I've got my pipeline. I've got value of my deals. I've got 75 days since the last quarter. I've got the Google Enterprise blog, so it's pulling information in from the Google Enterprise blog and allowing my staff to be updated about the information that's happening. Then I've got the latest news, so that's posts from the manager, so someone can actually post an announcement to the team, updating them maybe about company figures or whatever. I've got action items for the team, so I could have actions for particular people, like a task list. Down at the bottom, I've got Google Groups. Now, I haven't mentioned Google Groups yet. Google Groups act as a distribution list, or that what you would be used to or familiar with as a distribution list within Exchange. So an info address, a sales address, all those type of email addresses. But Google Apps is a little bit more, or Google Groups is a little bit more, because it's also gives you the ability to create these shared online message boards. And now, actually, recently Google brought out a feature where you could actually have a shared inbox. So if you have maybe a support team and they needed a shared inbox to send from the same email address and receive from the same email address, you can use Google Groups to do that. Now, in this particular case, I've published a Google group onto this Google site. So that's what I'm kind of talking about, Google Sites bringing everything together. Raheem has actually sent something in. Did you send that by email, Raheem? Yeah, so what Raheem did, he could be out on the road, and he just sent an email in to sales@damsoncloud.com, and it appeared here on our message board. And I can go into it, I can take a look at that, and if I wanted, I could actually post a reply here on the message board. But equally, if I was on that group, I'd receive it on my mobile device, and I could just respond to the email, and it would also appear here. So the team could see the conversation that's going on between myself and Raheem. We could both be out on the road emailing into this Google group via our inboxes. But equally, someone could dive in here, and they could respond here as well. So if I go up to the top, I'm going to see a couple of tabs, including Google Worksheets, a time booking system, a calendaring system, sales material, and also the sitemap and recent activity. Now the sales worksheet, what's interesting about the sales worksheet is that that's what's driving those bar charts and pie charts on the front of the website. And not only that, but using Google's secure data connector, we're pulling this information from Salesforce. So periodically, whether you want it to happen every 15 minutes or every hour or every day, the script runs. It pulls the information from Salesforce, puts it into a nice spreadsheet, and that drives the data on the front of the website. So again, another integration or extensibility point where you can extend the capabilities and the features within Google Apps. The time booking application is also quite interesting because it's a little small app that's running again within the Google site. So this is pulling information from a time booking application that we have. Now, I can put in my billable hours and my non-billable hours. I had a really good month. And I'm going to submit it. I haven't obviously made a submission for September yet. If I refresh this, it's going to pull that same data that I just entered back from the system. So it's already got it in there. And if I wanted, I could say, well, my billable hours have now changed. I've done an extra 10 hours, so I'm going to put in 60. And that will send that back to our billing system and enter that in. And that could be a server running in your offices, or it could be another tool that maybe you use on the web. But it's just showing the fact that, again, you can integrate it with Google Apps, and you have the capabilities to display it here on the Google sites. Google Calendar, again, I mentioned this earlier on, that you can also publish a calendar to the web. And this is extremely valuable when it comes to, again, Teams, collaboration, intranet solutions. You could have your team calendar. You could have your project calendars. I can see lots of nodding heads, people going, oh my God, that'd be amazing. You could have your holiday calendars. And you could have all of these published on here, and people would be able to edit them. I can add information to this calendar as well if I've been given edited rights for it. Sales material is basically just a place where you can, like a filing cabinet, where you can put information in terms of documents. So you can see we've got a handful of PDFs here and data sheets, and I can view these and download them. It also does version control as well, so if I upload a new version, it automatically assigns it version 2 or version 3, and so on and so forth. So I think that's pretty much everything. Raheem, did I miss something? I'm getting a thumbs up, so that means I haven't. I normally get to the end of these and remember that I've missed something out. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks very much for listening. We're going to have a very short break now for about 15 minutes. I know we're running behind time, but we started a little bit late, so that's okay. And then we're going to have the guys from Flash Panel are going to join us, and we're going to have Adam then from CloudLock. So thanks very much.